Shalom Alaikum, brothers and sisters. This is Minister Uriah Baraka. I'm coming to you with a teaching concerning the kingdom. We are very confused, even in light of what Yeshua have taught us. The kingdom of Elohim is within you. It is the development of divine order within the human nature. It is not something that is external. Anything external related to the kingdom is based upon it being an effect of the cause. That means when the kingdom is established within you, it will also manifest itself in an external environment. That means you will develop an environment or subjugate your environment conducive with the order that emanates from you. If the kingdom is not within you, then you will compromise and flow with the order of the world. This must be perfectly understood, that all things within us developed by Yahuwah is to be manifested in the environment in which we live. If we live in an environment of darkness, and the light of Yahweh is in us, then Yeshua teaches us to shine your light before men, that they may see your good works and give glory to the Father in heaven. This is our responsibility. For those that are truly enlightened, for those that truly have a development of divine order in their nature. It is to be understood that a kingdom is an order of existence. That is, an order that is established to produce a result that is agreeable with the causative will from which it originates. This order is set forth so that the divine Elohim can have actuality in what he has created. And it is for this purpose that the divine order which was created by Elohim exists, for no other purpose but to manifest and actualize the will of the Father. The sociocratic religion of just getting together, talk about the word, talk about Yahweh, and then go back to living within the rhythm of the system of the Goyim just is not going to make it anymore. Those who are serious about serving Yahweh in spirit and truth, we must understand that we have a moral responsibility to mankind. Voting Barack Obama in is good. It's a good assault against white supremacist order. It breaks their illusion of supremacy. It forces them to think on a more realistic level. That's good. But what our moral responsibility is, that is, those who keep the commandments of Elohim and the testimony of Yeshua, is to shine the light, the good of the kingdom into the world, to dispel the darkness and moral degradation that is in the world. Yes, Yeshua teaches us very emphatically, clear, That's why it's so hard for me to understand why there is so much controversy as to what the kingdom is. Yeshua teaches us that the kingdom of Elohim is within us. That's perfectly clear. Batuknu, within us, in the midst of us. That is, the kingdom has an internal reality and not a mere external. So I'm not running to the wilderness, worshiping false idols, that means false ideas, to think that a political government established on human tradition and religious cliche is the kingdom. It is not. The kingdom must first be established in you before it can have a manifestation into the external environment. That means you will live by the order of the divine nature established within you, which will establish a rhythm, a cultural rhythm of divine order in your environment. The kingdom is within you. I don't know how many times I can say it for it to be understood. Obviously, we're not listening to the word. We're doing as Jeremiah said, Yirmiyahu, where it says, thus said Yahweh. They prophesy from their own mind, because it is clear, this word, that the kingdom is within you, that you are the temple of Elohim, that you are the tabernacle of Elohim, and the divine order of the tabernacle, the divine order of the temple must be fully formulated and manifested from you. It must be understood that man in his first state or first birth is not a kingdom, but it is revealed in the Bereshit, that is Genesis. We are in a state that is formless and void, that is without order. There is no organized system of manifest behavior. This is where you get so much irate and illogical behavior, because logic is only logical behavior is merely behavior that is a manifestation of an order. Therefore, we are in our first state without the ability to express divine quality and in its order. And therefore, Yahweh must progressively form and purify us into an order by which we can partake of divine nature, the quality of divine nature. Because the quality of divine nature will only fit into a cup that is prepared to receive the divine nature. The quality of the divine nature can't function in a ontological order or through an ontological order that is conformed in an opposition to itself. It can't be done. This is fantasy. Thus it is written, let us make Hadam in our image and as our likeness. That is, Yahweh bestowed upon the Adam the divine quality, image, and life activity, likeness, that is agreeable with the standard of divine law, Torah. In this state, man is truly man. since the form of man is a composite of the divine order, of divine truth that has its origin from the divine good of the divine nature. That is, truth, light, is a quality that comes from the substance, the reality, the actual ontological essence and order of Yahuwah. And it is this light that leads us into a compatible state, obeying the truth, purifying ourselves through the obedience of truth. And your commandments are the truth. Therefore, Yahshua said, if you love me, if you have a true desire, a strong desire for me, you will keep my commandments. The commandments are a means by which salvation is appropriated within us. We don't have an ideal as Messianic Hebrews of a salvation through a grace that allows promiscuous behavior, that it is opposed to Torah. The Messianic Hebrew, the true Messianic Hebrew, brings his life in congeniality with the way of Yeshua and the prophets. That is, the way of lo, exnanition, self-denial. He denies every inclination of darkness that opposes the righteous standard of the Torah, constricting that evil inclination by the righteous standard of the Torah. Lo, not, deny, murder, hatred, gossiping, slander. Lo, deny, theft, deceit, dishonesty. Lo, deny, false witness, gossiping about your brother and sister and saying things about them that's not true. See, lo, self-denial. That is the constriction of the desires and inclinations that is opposed to the righteous standard of Torah. So those who say that we're not saved by keeping the Torah, but we keep after we're saved, we keep the commandments because we love him, that's a compromise. That takes us back to the pagan Christian lie that we are saved by a grace that does not demand obedience to the Torah and the prophets unto death. That's not a Hebrew idea. That's not a messianic Hebrew idea. That's not an ideal that is contained within the sacred writings of the scripture. It is a lie. But in this study, we will examine the order of the kingdom of Elohim, which in the beginning was called Gan, that is, a garden, or system of divine order that was invested in the first Adam, male and female. And this order existed in a state of peace with Elohim, justification with Elohim, a continuous relationship between Ha'adam and the Elohim, the manifestation of Yahweh in bodily form. And I hope that the previous studies has prepared you to see beyond the mythological views of carnal religion. Carnal religion that we find in the slave religion of churchianity, pagan Christianity, the idolatry, the lack of morale, the economical exploitation of the people, all these flesh doctrines. And it's given you the ability to be open to peer into the deeper spiritual view of the scriptures. a view that embodies the mysteries of the kingdom, that will empower you to see a clearer view of the hope of glory. See, we only have one hope, that we may obtain the glory of Yeshua HaMashiach. We don't come in here with the hope of building a mega church, but we do want to do things that empower the people. For the task of the minister, a true elder, is to edify the people for the work of service and not to fill his pockets with money. It's an ugly and a shameful thing to have twisted the word to covetousness. And as Esau, bless me, Father, bless me, an inverted faith that receives was not empower the environment and conform the environment by rebuking the darkness and establishing the order of light. Now we will begin this lesson in the 2nd chapter of Genesis, verse 7. We will come to understand that all that is written in these verses by the prophet is the revelation of the inner kingdom that is invested in the redeemed man, male and female. This lesson, lesson 1, maybe 2 or 3 to come, this lesson we will not be long, but will merely point out the key points of the revealing which Yeshua by his mercy has left to us as a means of informing us and teaching us his will and purpose for his people. We will be coming from the Hebrew scriptures, breaking them down so that you can get a perfect understanding of what this study is about. So it says here in Genesis 2:7, it reads, Ve'yatzar Yahweh Elohim ha'adam afar min adama. Being translated, and formed Yahweh Elohim the Adam, thus, meaning refining, making pure, from the Adamah, the soil, the ground. That's the good soil. The good soil that bringeth forth 30, 60, and 100-fold that Yeshua spoke about. The term Yatsar signifies a development of the atom by the action of the divine. The action is an action of purification of the nature of the atom to a receptive condition by which the atom could partake of the divine life and substance of the divine nature. So it is therefore that a person is saved. It's untrue that a person is saved instantaneously by saying some sinner's prayer and receiving Jesus in the heart and this general religious cliche. He's not saved instantaneously based upon the ideal of a vicarious imputation of salvation by faith alone. That is a faith that does not include obedience within its definition. That means our obedience is directed towards the commandments, because the commandments are truth, and we are purified through the obedience of truth. This is perfectly clear in the scriptures, in the scriptures of the prophets, as well as the writings of the apostles. In this case, the apostle Kepha or Peter. The Creator develops a relationships with the Adam to develop the power to obey divine law of Yahweh. Again, Kepha taught in 1 Peter 1:22, seeing you have purified your souls in obeying the truth. Psalms 119:151, your commandments are the truth. So we can kind of deduce that when Kiefer is talking about the truth, he's talking about obedience to divine law. The commandments of spiritual law that was given us and memorialized by the prophet Moshe, it is written, as said before, all your commandments are the truth, as Psalms 119, 142, or 151. Therefore, to obey the truth is to live within the perimeter of the commandments of Yahweh. Thus no one can be yatsar, formed, developed, and afar, refined, and purified, except through compliance to divine law. This is true faith, when we believe our obedience to the law of the Spirit is the means to experience formation, purification of our nature to a state where order compatible with divine nature can be formulated within us, and purification of all opposing, oppositional things that are at enmity within us against the divine law of Elohim. We can find this in Romans 8:7, where it says, Mim ha'adamah, from the ground. It speaks of the intent within the nature that is receptive to divine action. This is shown in the teachings of the Messiah Yeshua in Matthew 13:8. But other seed fell into good ground, Adamah, and brought forth fruit. Okay, see, the word, Yeshua said, the seed is the word, not money out your pocket given to these entrepreneurs of church business. You know, give $100 and Yah is going to give you back 100-fold. And it seems that the only people get rich from this doctrine is the one that's teaching it. But that's another issue. If you foolishness is for fools. Okay. Thus the Adamah relates to a heart condition that possesses receptive intent towards the divine will, and seek the fulfillment of that will apart from the will of the carnal mind, or the nature of the flesh that is in a kata state, that is a state that functions beneath the righteous standard of Torah, which in this state is in opposition to the divine law of Yahweh. Anyone who functions from the cognitive process of the fleshly nature, the inclinations of evil, Yitzhahara, they cannot please Elohim. There's no way. You can wrap it up in whatever religious package and wear the right clothes and stop eating pork and do all the things that is aesthetically sound, but if you don't have the internal reality of righteousness, I will put my law in your mind, I will write it in your heart. If this process is not taking place in you, this purification and reformation of the ontological nature of man by the action of the Spirit, then your religion is vain, having the form of godliness and not accepting the power, the ability of Yahweh to raise you above a standard that is compatible with the standard of Torah. See, this things go deeper than just saying, well, I'm a Hebrew and I dress this way and eat this way, and all these things is good. We should separate ourselves from all the externalities of Western society and its hypocrisy, a democracy of hypocrisy, a culture that has produced nothing but murder, hatred, animosity, the development of a false race doctrine, the development of techno foods that create more sickness and death than anything that you can see in history. Living sick and thinking you well. It's a delusion. It's sorcery. And Satan deceives the world through pharmakai, drugs, pharmaceuticals. And your foods are infested with chemicals and drugs. And in many cases, this is why we can't think any deeper than what we think, other than the color of our skin or the dress that we wear or the food that, we shouldn't eat. We don't eat pork, but we eat white sugar that is processed by pork. These type of contradictions is what get us, okay? But we're talking about something deeper. We're talking about the kingdom of Elohim within, the Adamah, the good soil, the good intent within our heart towards Yahuwah, to oppose those inclinations of evil that keep us in formlessness and darkness. And that formlessness and darkness is manifested by our anti-organization mentality. Yahweh says, I send you prophets and apostles to enlighten you. And you say, well, we don't need nobody to teach us. The Spirit teaches us. And the Spirit does teach you. But there is an order that Yahweh has established for the edifying of the holy ones and the work of service. Is written. It is taught by those whom Yeshua taught. And they walked in order. They wasn't just walking around talking about spaceships and Illuminati. They were established and understood that they had to have an order, because every nation, every kingdom functions in an order, and not just the pie in the sky spirituality. I was talking to someone the other day who was talking about they was from Jupiter. I don't know how that became a Hebrew ideal, but I guess we can fit anything into the scriptures that we want. But the Adamah must be seeded. The ground must be worked. It must be afar, refined, made usable. That means the Yitzhahara and the opposition of the Torah must be removed from it. So Yeshua said that the Adamah, the soil, was our heart, our ontological nature of existence. And that when the seed falls on the good ground, it brings forth what? Fruit, 30, 60, unto 100-fold. So we need to understand that why Saul said, examine yourself and see if you're in the faith. That is, examine yourself and see if you're functioning from the desire of the divine nature or from the desire of the hardened heart, the heart that had not been afar, refined, purified, worked, formulated, yitzar, by the action of Yahuwah through the obedience of truth. Next it is written, Ve yapak ha-afayu neshamat kayim veyehe ha-adam li nefesh kaya. And he breathed. That word breathe can also mean disesteemed. Think about that. He breathed. When you have some dirt in a bowl and you want to get it out, you breathe in it so all the impurities and obstructions can be removed. See, that was the purpose of him breathing. He breathed, disesteemed, took away that pride of arrogance. That pride of arrogance. You can't tell me nothing. I do what I want to do. Don't nobody run my life. I don't need no man. All this foolishness needs to be disesteemed to a humble, compliable state that we can actualize fully the will of the Father. And he breathed this esteem in the nostrils, the vitality of lives unto a living soul, or soul that is living. Okay? Ve yapach be afahu nishama chayim ve ihe ha'adam li nefesh chaya. This is what this says. Here the term yapak has the meaning also of disesteeming, that is, disempowering the attitude of self-will and vanity that is innate in the human nature apart from the divine. This is a serious issue because the supremacist society teaches us to be esteemed. Build your self-esteem. You are somebody. You know, personal identity, individualistic greatness. See, that has no part in the order of the divine. In the order of the divine, let them be one, united, functioning in compliability with one another as we are one. See, this is how the kingdom works. So we can't bring in these narcissistic Western ideas, implement them into our faith, and then think we're going to come out with the desired result. It's not going to happen. The kingdom must be established within, and in order to do that, you have to be disesteemed from the pride of arrogance, from the pride of self-will, from the pride of individual grandiose greatness. See, you have to be disesteemed. There's a communal, cooperative order that Yahweh is established. And when this attitude of nature is invested within you, you can't speak in the narcissistic Western terms. The evidence of this order that is oppositional to Yahweh is evident by this language of narcissism and individual grandiose. Examine. We must examine ourselves to see if we are functioning from a faith that originates from divine nature. Okay? Thus the Adamah relates to a heart condition. Yes, it does. And after that heart condition is made compliable with Yahweh, where you have intent, will that produces thought that gives you peace with Elohim, justification with Elohim, then he breathes within you. He begins to work within you to make you a soul that expresses life. Not just any life, but particularly his life. This must be perfectly understood. So as we conjoin to the divine will, that will of self and its vanities must be breathed out. And when one breathes in a bowl, as I said, which has dust in it, the breathing into the bowl causes the dust to be removed. Those yitzaharas, those arrogant attitudes, those anti-organization attitudes, anti-oneness attitudes, anti-unity attitudes are removed. Such impurities are deep within us, and it is only the action of the divine breath, ruach, that such deep impurities can be removed. so that the divine nature can have total sovereignty in the heart of the Adam, male and female. We'll stop here. We got more, because we're going to understand that the divine nature is within you and is manifested from you. And what is manifested from you is evidence of the condition of your heart, the words that you speak, the rhythm in which you live, the morality which you manifest. See? We have to understand this, that we can examine ourselves if we're honest with ourselves. He that confesses sins, understand that Yahweh is faithful and just to forgive him and to cleanse him, to purify him, to afar, to refine him and bring him into a condition of righteousness. But honesty, accepting the word that he has given us by his prophets and through his apostles. We can continue to play games with this Hebrew thing, continue to play the game of proper pronunciation, dress codes, and all this passivity and the magic miracle of deliverance. But we need to understand that Yahweh is building an army of men and women who has been disesteemed to the pride of this world, the lust of the eyes and the lust of the flesh, and has come into rank and order, as it is prophesied in Joel 3, I think it is, or 2, and that his voice goes forth before his army. An army makes war. So they will say, peace, peace, and sudden destruction will come upon them. But we must remember that Yeshua came not in this era to make peace, but to set forth a sword. Yochanan the baptizer said, the axe is laid to the root of the tree. Everyone who is not bringing forth fruit shall be chopped down. May Elohim fulfill his word so that his work can continue on. Brothers and sisters, I love you. I pray for you, Yah, to always spare his people and not to give his inheritance over to the Goyim, that they might rule over us, that they might say, where is your El? For he is the El of power. Let us manifest his power in the redemption of the world through Yeshua HaMashiach. Selah.